canoes, small outboard motors, several days. So when I left his conference, I decided I was going to do something about it. As a filmmaker, I learned that I can do something more. I had been in the Peruvian Amazon and negotiating going into another indigenous village for this film, Return to the Amazon. And the chief said to me, "We will let you in our village, but what will you do for us?" And I naively said, "Well, I'm making this big international film." Didn't seem to be enough. And I said, "The international community will see what's happening here. The oil companies are drilling in your backyard, contaminating your forest, contaminating the water sources in which you swim, drink, fish, wash your children. And they will see what's happening." And he smiled. He said, "That's nice. Do you really think that person watching your film is going to do anything to help us? Do you really think they're going to go to bed and then wake up the next morning and actually do something?" He says, "Medical professionals come here, and they want to study our medicinal plants. They ask us to come to the villages, and we let them. And we teach them everything we know about the medicinal plants. We take them into the forest, we show them how we prepare them, and they make promises to help us, and they go home and they make their little white pills, and nothing comes back to my village." Because anthropologists do the same. They want to come into our villages and learn about our culture and our history, and we welcome them with open arms. And we tell them our stories, and they write their notes. And we pass down our history, and they write their notes. And they make promises to help us, and they go home, and we see nothing. He said, "As well-intentioned as you are making this film, it's not enough." And that was the best adult lesson of my life. It is not enough. I have great intention. I make these great films. But what is coming back to those communities who need more? So in the moment I attended that conference, I saw my opportunity to give back, not on behalf of any other organization, but on behalf of myself as somebody who had access to this place, who had information, and therefore who had a door open to bring something back and to help in a way that they needed, in a way that they asked for. I spent a year trying to bring a team of doctors down into this area. Now, being completely outside the medical profession, this was a huge learning curve. I went down to the University of New Mexico. I was living in Santa Fe at the time, talked to the department there, and I said, "Okay, I have this crazy idea. Would you be interested?" And eventually, we had a staff person willing to sponsor a program where they would send medical students down into this area. And I had a nonprofit organization ready to donate medical supplies. Now, granted, this is what I would do somewhere between 11 and 12 p.m., somewhere between trying to make films, doing conferences, running around, and it was really tough. And at the end of the year, I met so many obstacles in making this happen that I decided I had to let it go, which is one of the most difficult lessons of my adult life. How do I let these people down? How can I do that? What they needed was somebody on the ground. What they needed was a nonprofit organization and a group of people on location to work on this. And what they also needed is less barriers on part of the governmental organizations that didn't allow foreign doctors to come into the area. They thought therefore health officials were sufficient. A couple of weeks after this, I got an email. And it was very random that it was sent to me. But it was a nonprofit organization looking for volunteers to go with a medical team into the Peruvian Amazon. Somebody was listening. I wrote back right away. I said, "I'm going. I'm really good with Band-Aids. I can sew buttons. I'm not afraid of a little pus and blood. Take me." So in November last year, I went into a very remote area of the Peruvian Amazon. And I was a one-woman production team. I strapped all my gear around my neck. And when I wasn't actually helping the doctors with translation or other such duties, I was trying to film. And this next piece is what came of that. If I could have the video. So we call this guerrilla-style documentary filmmaking. It's very rudimentary, very basic, just me and all my gear. This I shot myself. Yes, it's one of these. Make it look like I don't actually know somebody's filming me. But it was really to give something back to that nonprofit organization. It began really as me going in, helping medical practitioners, helping give back to those communities that were in need. Now, the villages that we go in, we don't go in randomly. There's actually a very selective process, and the process is they choose this organization. They write in a letter and say, we want you to come. We want you to help our village. And Patty Webster, who you'll see shortly in the video, the president of this organization, is an absolutely determined, amazing woman. She runs this organization close to nothing. She doesn't get the glory of televisions. She doesn't get huge grants. She doesn't have huge funding. They are a team of 2 in Iquitos in Peru. And then they have board members here in the United States, volunteers bringing in funding. And then volunteer doctors join Amazon Promise and go to these remote locations for several weeks at a time and help the people that they can. And I asked her a question. I said, how do you keep doing this? The need is so great. They ask you to come. Do you ever say no? And what do you do about everybody else? And she said, if I help one person, if I help 30 people, or if I help 300 people, at least I'm doing something. And that's how she keeps going. So I know that when I'm out in the field and I'm trying to do something and I want it to be this big and it turns out to be this big, I remember what she said. At least I'm doing something. Keep going. Keep doing it. There are people out there doing amazing work in the health field, whether it's here in the United States, whether it's South America, whether it's Africa.